We're in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania, in Lawrence County, a small community that's been here for well over 150 years as an incorporated community. But apparently the first settlers came here in 1797. And very soon they'll be celebrating their 150th anniversary with a gala series of celebrations. With us is the mayor of New Wilmington, Mayor Wendell Wagner. Mayor, you've been a mayor a long time, haven't you?
Yes, quite a while. I've been in politics in New Wilmington for 28 years. So I was councilman for 12 years, then county commissioner, and then 12 as mayor.
Has this community grown very much over the last 10 years?
Not a great deal. New Wilmington, as far as real estate, is about built out. We're limited by the 1 square mile of the borough, surrounded by Wilmington Township Mercer and Wilmington Township Lawrence.
Now, there are two noticeable characteristics of this community. One is the college here, Westminster College,
right,
and also the Amish community.
And we have both, and we live very well with both of them. College, in fact, I think if it wasn't for the college, there wouldn't be nearly as much New Wilmington as here.
Now, the building we're in is called the Tavern on the Square. Right. This has been here since 1846, I believe, and this is the very same building. Are there many historic places around?
A few are left. There's another one up on the next square. See, we have two public, what they call them, diamonds, and we're in the East Diamond here, and one block up the road, another 4 squares, and that's the West Diamond.
Now, what's the difference between a square and a diamond?
That's the same. Public square, public, but they're known as diamonds, and we will be dedicating in our 150th anniversary celebration new signage for both of these diamonds, delineating what they are and why they're there.
Is this a major tourist attraction in Lawrence County?
It is one of the largest, yes, basically because the Amish community. People come out and do tours out here and so on. And our nice shopping area, very, very intimate, very small.
Now, Mayor, your family has been in the car business in New Wilmington for a long time. Tell us about the early days.
Well, my father started his first business he was in the teens, in 19 teens, and where the theater is now, or was now, is where he started in a garage that, in those days, you didn't own a car and put it in your garage. You had it, and they would call him and have him start the car and have it ready to go when they came here. It was called the storage garage.
What kind of car was it?
Well, he sold, prior to Chrysler and Plymouth, which we had for a long, long time, Pontiac and Oakland.
Do you remember the early days of the car business when you were just a kid?
Not a lot. I traveled with my dad, though, all the time because he did a lot of parts running for the repair shop that he owned back and forth to Newcastle. And I remember being in my bare feet and a young kid trotting all over Newcastle and all the parts stores.
What kind of car? What do you remember about the cars?
I remember how beautiful they were, particularly during the 60s and all. That was the raging time for beautiful cars.
This is a very tight-knit community. Everybody seems to know each other. I was walking along Market Street here, and everybody was waving and saying hello and stopping to talk to each other. I guess it's like small towns used to be, but here still is.
It still is. I speak to everybody on the street. I know most everybody. It's getting a little harder, though, as I get older and more people move in and out of the college and different businesses here. But the college and the borough have a very, very good relationship.
Mayor, do you know why people settled around here in the first place?
Well, it's just Seth Pompano. This building we're in now was developed by a doctor, and so we had that, and just the farming communities around. Because my great grandparents settled just north of New Wilmington here in Indian Run.
What brought them here?
They migrated from Liverpool in England around 1855, something in that nature. And I even have the manifest of the ship that they left Liverpool on, which is called the Britannia.
I understand that there was a grist mill here back in the late 1700s.
That was a little bit early for me, I'm afraid. I really know very little about that.
The celebration is going to start here pretty soon for the 150th anniversary. I guess folks have been working on this for a long time.
6, 7, and 8 of September will be the 3 days of activities going on. Saturday will be a parade, and that's when I'll dedicate the signs that are going to be put on the diamonds. And there's speeches, there's activities at the Shenango on the Green. There'll be people speaking there on different topics. There's a lot of things. I think some vendors and the parade, and we'll be featuring in the parade one of our local heroes, who is Admiral Robert Shoemaker, who has retired as a two-star admiral. Good friend of mine, and very, very still active when he comes back to the community.
Do you think this 150th anniversary will bring lots of people from around the country?
I think it will. The parade on Saturday should be a big one with all the fire departments and the college band and the high school band, and probably all the politicians will be involved too, somewhere along the way.
Especially one I'm talking to right now.
Well, yes, I'll be involved, but this will be my swan song because I'm not standing for re-election.
I understand that 50 years ago, at the 100th anniversary, there was quite a celebration. Do you remember that?
Do I remember? Yes, I was one of the chairmen of one of the committees on that anniversary. In fact, when it came up, then it was going to be, and I notified council that our 150th was coming up, and I think I was the only one in the room that had been at the 50th, 100th at that point. So
did that attract a lot of people?
Oh yes, it does.
I mean, 50 years ago.
There were, oh yes, very big. It was almost a week celebration. We are trying to make it a little more compact this year, just over those 3 days.
Mayor, it's awfully good to talk to you. Thanks for having us up in New Wilmington.
You in New Wilmington, and we hope to see lots and lots of people on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of September.
We're going to talk to a man who is probably the person who has lived longest in New Wilmington of anybody living here now in just a few moments. George Robinson, you've been living in New Wilmington for a long, long time. What's your earliest recollection of this area?
Well, there was the stores, and Saturday night, everything closed at 9 o'clock on Saturday night, and you couldn't buy anything until Monday morning. And I remember that. And the candy store across the street, and a lot of different things than today. There was I can remember 6 stores, and started up on West Neshannock there. Will James had a grocery store, and then below him was another grocery store where there's a new apartment building now, and that was John Stewart Price.
George, do you remember going to school here?
Oh my, yes. And
what kind of a school was it?
Well, it was the high school and the grade school for the kids in town. And I lived about a mile out of town, and I didn't have a school bus. We got our exercise by running to school and running home. But we had real good teachers. Now my class, there was 43 in my graduating class. And now I can remember about 6 or 7 of us that are living.
Did you go to a one-room schoolhouse?
Out in the country, when I lived out of town, I went out to the one-room school for 8 years.
How did that work? How there were so many different grades in the one school. How did the teacher handle that?
1 through 8. And, of course, it was repetitious, you know. You listen to first grade, you listen to the second grade, and you got a good education.
Did the older kids help the younger kids?
Oh, yeah, and it was very communal, you know. Everybody got along real good, and we had great things, which was... those days were really something, you know, a picnic in the spring when school ended in about the end of April or early in May. And
now, most old-timers talk about the good old days, how wonderful you were, and you were such good kids. Weren't there some mischievous kids there, too?
Oh, we did a few things now and again, nothing serious or nothing very detrimental to anybody, and maybe put a corn shock out on a dirt road, you know, and the Dutchman would have to get out of his buggy and move the corn shock so he could get through. But not, and Sunday afternoons were about this time of year, we'd go for a hike when weather was getting nice, and there was a farm out in the area, that had an orchard, and they harvested the apples and piled them on the ground, then covered them, laid them on straw, the apples, and then covered them with straw, and then threw dirt up over them, because refrigeration, wasn't too much in those days. And every so often, and it was a conical shaped thing, and every so often they'd put a stovepipe in. They had to have a ventilation of some sort, and we would often walk in that direction and then get up in that mound and reach down through and steal an apple.
Now you're caught. Now you're caught. You're in trouble right now.
Yes.
Do you remember when radio was first introduced to the area?
I can remember when we lived out of town at 6:45, silence reigned in my family. And I come from a family of 4 boys and 4 girls. And I have one brother still left, and he and I are the family now. But silence at 6:45 so Dad could listen to Lowell Thomas. So long until tomorrow is what he always ended up.
Were you fascinated as a child with radio, how it worked, where the voice was coming from?
Yeah, in a way, I liked mechanics and so forth, but we just accepted it, and that was probably what's going to be, and it did last a good while.
When you were a young kid, when you were in grade school or maybe even in junior high school, what did you expect to do the rest of your life? What was your career going to be?
Well, I had an English teacher in high school. His name was Ed Anderson, lived down the street here, and a fine man. And one day he asked us all, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be a machinist." And that's what I did, and I got served 9,000 hours, which is equivalent to 4 years, and learned the trade of being a machinist.
If you could have done anything differently in your whole lifetime, would you have changed something?
Not a whole lot. I loved the outdoors. I always hunted all my life. I always had bird dogs when I grew up. And fortunately, I married a wonderful woman who loved to walk in the woods. She didn't carry a gun, and she would go hunting with me, and we had some beautiful days. In fact, I took her ashes and spread them along a little stream where we used to stop and eat our lunch. We'd cook our lunch with a Coleman burner.
It's so nice to talk to you. Thanks for sharing these experiences and these moments with us. We appreciate talking with you, and happy 150th anniversary for New Wilmington.
Well, thank you, and I hope that I can tell some people what they want to know.
Westminster College here in New Wilmington has been here since 1852, and the college has been teaching many subjects to many people from all over the country. With us is a gentleman who has been with the college for a number of years. He's retired now, but he was in charge of the master's degree program, and he is Sam Farmery. Sam, I know this college means a lot to you. You spent a lot of time here, and ever since you retired, you're still pretty close to it. What kind of a college is it? Who goes there, and who supports it?
A lot of the support comes through student tuitions, but there's a substantial amount coming in through endowments. Now, the typical student only pays 70% of his tuition. The remainder of the money comes from endowments and other sources.
Why does a student come here? What particular subjects do they take because it's unique here?
The most popular subjects, I believe, are the education program, is teacher certification, biology, economics and business administration, and overall the college is very strong in the sciences. In fact, recently the college was designated as the top college in the country for females in science.
This is a very small school. What's the school population, the student population?
Give or take a little bit, 14, 1,500, and over the years, it's been pretty stable around that number, except after World War II, when, like every place else, it skyrocketed.
Well, for a school that small, it seems like reaching that level of recognition is a pretty big feat.
It's something that I never expected to happen in my lifetime, but over the years, through good leadership, good faculty, the college has been able to reach that level.
Is it difficult to pick good faculty to come to a school as small as this one?
On the surface, it would seem to be very difficult, and yet I'm surprised because we have faculty members over the years with doctor's degrees from Princeton, from Oxford, from Stanford, from Harvard. So those places are the cream of the crop. So we're not overloaded with those individuals, but we get our share of them, maybe more than our share of them.
Sam, why did you come here?
Why did I come to Westminster College? Well, my first experience with Westminster College was when I earned my master's degree here. And it seemed that the person I took most of my classes from took a liking to me. And 10 years later, I was at a professional meeting in Chicago, and he was recruiting faculty members, and we accidentally run into each other, figuratively and literally. And the next thing you know, I was a faculty member at Westminster College. I'd been trained as a teacher, so college teaching was the thing for me. My first college job was not teaching, so I guess you could say when this opportunity came along, I jumped at it.
When we talk about education, we are always concerned about the output of the educational process. And we hear about some bad teachers. We hear some teachers are gifted. Some people are in between. How do you filter out those that you think should be really teaching in the classroom and those that maybe aren't equipped for it?
This is a very difficult scenario to deal with. It's easy to filter people out in terms of their academics, their scores on tests, their performance on the standardized certification test, but filtering out people who just cannot communicate, who can't deal with kids, that's an extremely difficult thing to do. And for the most part, at least during the years that I was department chair, there'd be somebody on the faculty, myself or somebody else, who would try to counsel people out of the program that we didn't feel were going to be doing any service to the kids in the public schools.
Can you tell early on in the first freshman or sophomore year whether somebody is really equipped to be a great teacher?
Great, I don't know. A good teacher, I think that can be determined within the first few courses in the education department. Great, that's a whole different matter. Maybe that's more what it's not so much what we do for them as what students do with what we have given to them. That's what makes it a teacher, not what we give them, but what they do with it.
Doctor, is somebody born to be a teacher, or is it something that they have to hone and work at?
That's a controversial matter, but I think there's some people that no matter how hard they try, no matter how much education they get, they're going to fall on their faces in the classroom. And there are other people, I guess some are born to be that.
What are some of the reasons that someone wants to become a teacher initially?
Over the years, this has changed substantially. When I first went into teaching, public school teaching back in the 1950s, I think one of the motivating things was you want to help people, you want to help individuals. But when unionization came along and salaries started to become competitive with some other professions, I think there are a goodly number of people who go into teaching because they like that $35,000, $40,000 a year salary. I think that's become a substantial motivator now. There's still a large number of people who do it because it's a calling, if you will, but there's certainly plenty out there who are interested in the salary.
This is a church-sponsored college. Is there much religion involved with the educational process?
Well, the involvement is, in terms of the requirements for graduation, there is a religion component in it, and we have chapel programs 3 days a week. But again, it's a far cry from when I first came to the college, where you had mandatory attendance to chapel. That's no longer the case. Several religion courses were required back then, and these days we have the religion courses, but they're in a group with a couple other things, and you may or may not take a religion course. So the influences, I think, substantially declined, even though the college still considers itself to be a Christian college.
Doctor, thanks so much for filling us in on some of the ins and outs of Westminster College here in New Wilmington. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
So we've learned a great deal about the community of New Wilmington, and we've also heard that they're celebrating 150 years since the incorporation of this community. And two people here are co-chairs of the 150th celebration. They are Sherry Babb and Susie Ligo. Now, Sherry, when did you all start thinking about doing a 150th anniversary celebration?
Last September 2012.
Were some of the people involved 50 years ago for the 100th involved here?
Yes, we have probably about 5 different committee members that are with us. That are helping.
Susie, why are you here? Why are you doing all this? You're a busy shop owner?
Really to celebrate New Wilmington. You look at the history of New Wilmington and you want to make sure that's never forgotten. And we want to excel on that when we look at our future. So really getting the history and seeing where we've been and where we're going to go, I think that's the most exciting part of this whole project.
Susie, you're not from here, and when did you come? And it seems like you've got yourself involved with the community more than most newcomers would.
Well, I actually moved here in 1978. My father came here. He was the dean at Westminster College, and my mother also was the director of the lifelong learning program. And, you know, I came from a bigger city, but this was much smaller, but I never wanted to leave. I was one of those kids that always says, I'm getting out of here when I'm 16. I never left. I love this community, and I really want to make sure that everybody understands what a precious community we have and how we can build on it in the future.
So it's not just historic to point out some of the older things and the earlier times, but also you're kind of celebrating today, aren't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to make sure that you look at the past, like I said, and grow from that, because small communities are really the legwork of our country, and we don't ever want to lose those. We don't want to lose the idea of small town and community and family and churches and colleges, and we want to make sure everyone knows where their roots are, and it's right here in New Wilmington.
Sherry, are you from here originally?
No, I'm originally from Pittsburgh.
What brought you here?
Horses, actually. I bought a horse.
You
farm.
couldn't take a streetcar?
No. My husband and I got involved with horses, race horses and quarter horses, and moved to the land, actually, and bought a 35-acre farm. And that was back in 1977.
Are you living in New Wilmington right now?
I am in New Wilmington now. It's probably about 12 years now.
I know you're in the real estate business. Is real estate doing pretty well here?
It has come back. We are back. Yes, New Wilmington is doing really well in the surrounding area.
What brings people here?
The small town, the college town, I would say the Amish flavor that we have. It's just such a peaceful, such a wonderful area to raise children, and I would say it's a unique little borough that we have here.
Now, we've heard that the Amish are a separate group. They live by themselves and they have a culture of their own. Do they integrate much into the general population here?
Yes, they do.
Well, there are a lot of the Amish that do a lot of work for the English, as we're called. So they do, I had a porch put on, and the Amish did it. They do a lot of work. They also have a lot of markets around that people can go and buy their goods. And so would I say we all have coffee? No, but we do integrate to the point that we respect them, and they respect us, and we help them with their economic bounds, too. So it's kind of matured as time has gone on, but yeah, there is definitely I guess a communication between the English and the Amish, which is really, really, I think, really cool about New Wilmington.
There's always a problem in small communities of when somebody grows up here and they go to school and maybe to college and then they don't come back because the jobs aren't here for a college graduate. Is that happening here, or do some stay?
A lot of them do stay, but I have found over the years, I've been with Haynes Realty now for 20 years, that they do come back. They do come back. It might be after they're ready to retire, actually. We have a lot of folks that do come back after they've raised their children and want to come back to their town.
Let's learn about some of the activities for the 150th anniversary. Tell us about some of them.
Well, it's going to start on September 6th through the 8th. We're going to have, it'll start out on Friday evening with a big cook-off and a ceremony for our town. And then the next day we're going to have a parade and a lot of different vendors, fashion show. We'll have artists and authors being set up at the Shenango on the Green. Also, there will be a talent show, and there's just going to be tons of entertainment through the day.
Susie, do you expect thousands of people?
I absolutely do. We're going to do a lot of advertising, and what's really cool is we've already sent out some cards to save the date. We're letting the community know, but we're also going outside of the community into the Sharon, Mercer, hopefully Pittsburgh area to let people know what New Wilmington is and come and celebrate with us. But also, a lot of people are looking for a place to move. A lot of people are looking at a place to bring their businesses. So we have those advantages too. So there is going to be a lot of celebration, but we're going to definitely have, I would say, 1,000 or more people because we have a lot of people to celebrate within this whole celebration of the whole.
Which of the historical sites will you be showing off?
Let's see. Well, we're going to have, believe it or not, we'll have some things at the Shenango on the Green, but I know Susie here at the Tavern, which is one of the oldest properties that we have, she's going to hopefully have some things going on here. So really a lot of the places, the downtown sector is all historical if you ask me, because even the building that I own, which is the Point, there's so much history to it that we have all these wonderful pictures and different outfits people wore at the birthday party before. So there are going to be so many different places that Westminster College is going to be celebrated. So there's so many different unique places in New Wilmington that we're going to celebrate and let everyone see. So we want everyone to come out and really enjoy and partake in all the festivities, but really look and see what our community is all about. It's about the people, the town, and the whole community.
And the dates of the celebration?
September 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Ladies, thanks so much. It's good to be here in New Wilmington to start the celebration for the 150th year. New Wilmington here in Lawrence County in western Pennsylvania. I'm Larry Berg. We'll see you next time on Faces and Places.